G'day champion, it's Stuart Stone here from Health and Fitness Over 40, and today's video is probably the single most important video that I'm going to share with you. Now, obviously I've given you life-saving information over the last 150 or so videos that we've done, when we've talked about heart disease, when we've talked about type 2 diabetes, different forms of cancer, and so on and so forth. But this one is more specific for the guys out there. Now, here in Australia, we're in the month of Movember, and what that means is it's a month devoted specifically to men's health. And the three big areas that we talk about with regard to Movember is testicular cancer in men, prostate cancer in men, and mental health issues for men. Now, if you haven't seen my prostate cancer video already, there's a link up here, have a watch of it. But today we're going to talk about specifically mental health issues in men, and more importantly, as you guys out there watching this, what you can do to help yourself. Because if you haven't faced something that has rocked your world from an anxiety, depression, or even thinking about suicide point of view, give yourself a bit of time because it will come up sooner or later. So let's look at a few quick statistics and then stay right to the end of the video of the things you can do to help yourself for self-care and also to keeping yourself emotionally robust and positive about your life. So let's get into it. So let's look at society for a second and what it does to men. You got to think, our society, our culture treats men as disposable. All you've got to do historically is look at World War I, World War II, when you had conscription, which is what we call it here in Australia, or the draft. It was only men who get drafted to go and fight for king and country, queen and country, or for the country, to go to foreign shores and die. In other words, women get to stay at home to raise the families while the men get to go away and die. Then all you've got to do is watch a crappy movie like Titanic, and when that ship starts to go down, what do you hear? Women and children first, and men, sort yourself out, you're the fucking leftovers of society. You're disposable. If you die, hey, protect the ladies. In fact, the whole movie is predicated on Jack lying in the water while whatever the hell that bitch's name was survives sitting above the water, and Jack freezes and drifts off and drowns. Yet it's a big door that they're both on. They both could have floated to safety, but Jack gets to die. And you know what? Women all the world over wet their little panties thinking how great Jack was that he died for his woman. Crazy psychology, but get it through your heads, guys. Men are disposable. When you look in the workplaces, 94% of all workplace deaths are men. And no one bats an eyelid. We're not hearing it in the media, we're not seeing it on the news. This is something that is just acceptable in the Western world. When we look at TV shows, what is the message that the media is putting out there? Well, all you've got to do is look at every little girl's favourite means of watching movies, in other words, Disney. You have the princess, and the prince or the suitor has to put himself through so many challenges, life's challenges, overcome so many dangers, put his life at risk, maybe for the heart of the girl lead to accept him as worthy of her. In other words, the woman is put on a pedestal and the guy gets to humiliate himself and put himself at massive risk to potentially win her favour. Now let's look at TV sitcoms. We look at Family Guy. Peter Griffin, an idiot. Homer Simpson, an idiot. Everybody loves Raymond. Raymond's an idiot. His older brother Robert is an idiot. His father is an idiot. Men are being depicted as idiots. Now, where else do we need to look? King of Queens, he's an idiot. You start to get the idea. 2.5 Men. Jake the son is an idiot. Alan the father is an idiot. And Charlie Sheen is a womanizing, lecherous guy. In other words, in society, men are portrayed as buffoons, idiots, and less than healthy role models. That's the message that is pervasive under the radar going out there to men, women, boys and girls the world over. And it has a knock-on effect. Now let's look at the legal system. When we look at the family law courts, 88% of the time when there's a divorce on, the mother automatically gets the children, even if on paper the father is a better provider, better caregiver, and so on and so forth. And the reason it's 88% and not 93% is because in 5% of cases the woman abandons the family and the father's left to raise the child. So in other words, the courts automatically side with the female. Now when you look at the Western world today, if you get married today, 50% of you are going to go through the divorce mechanism. And in divorce, 70 to 80% of all divorces are instigated by the female, and because of no-fault divorce, it's not a case of, okay, there was abuse, there was infidelity or domestic violence. It is a case of, I'm not happy, I'm out of here, and the man gets to pay for the upkeep and the well-being of his wife, or former wife in this case, and his children, who he doesn't get to see, and he pays for them. So in other words, it's not an equitable situation. Now, this is not a video to beat up on women and say women versus men. It's a situation where we need to understand that men are treated as less than equal, disposable, not number one, and not even equal number one with their female counterparts. So what can we do about it as men? Why is this important? Why am I even talking about it today? And the key reason that I'm talking about it is because when you look at depression, anxiety, and suicide in men, the rates are 3 times higher for men to kill themselves than women. When you look at divorce, the rate of suicide in men goes up by a factor of 5 compared to women. In other words, men are killing themselves hand over fist relative to women. Not that we want the ladies to die, we don't want the men to die either, but in the media, it doesn't get the care it deserves. When you look at diseases, when you compare prostate cancer with breast cancer, in other words, a specifically male cancer with a specifically female cancer, here in Australia, we have a higher rate of prostate cancer affecting men than we do having breast cancer affecting women, yet the level of funding is massively skewed in favour of the women. Now, if it's better marketing and better fundraising from the women, more power to them. But from a level playing field point of view, again, the funding is going a certain way and men are missing out. So the whole point here, and what I'm saying to you, is guys, if you don't put yourselves first, and that's not to the detriment of everyone else, but if you don't put yourself first as an equal member in your life, in your society, in your family, who the heck else is going to? Now, the reason this is pertinent right now is because we're at crisis levels here in Australia. Now, yes, it's Movember, and like I said, it's a month dedicated towards focusing on men's health, and in this case, we're talking about men's emotional and psychological health, but also we're at a real crossroads right now. We are suffering here in New South Wales the worst drought on record. In other words, farmers are going bankrupt and out of business hand over fist. And the banks are coming in and picking up those businesses. These guys are losing their livelihood, their homes, everything they've ever worked for. Right now, we're in the middle of bushfire season. We've had properties wiped out across the board. And what does the government give to people who have lost everything? Well, every adult gets $1,000 and every child gets $400. And I'll tell you right now, $1,000 wouldn't even pay for a fortnight of my living expenses. So in other words, the compensation is pitiful. So guys, there's an increased pressure for you right now to be under that emotional stress, that financial stress, to maybe do something permanent and drastic that you don't need to do. And I can speak from personal experience here. If you were with me 10 years ago, I was in a situation where I had a fall and broke a bone in my neck, and as a result, I lost my business. In other words, I lost my livelihood, and I also lost my relationship. That relationship ended as a result of that. And I was in a very dark space. And here's the key part, here's the practical stuff for this video. This is what I've learned that helped myself come through some very dark times and get to the good side of the coin. And the most important thing you need to understand, guys, is we're raised to be the rock, we're raised to be stoic, we're raised not to show our emotions. And the key part is, as a result of that, your brothers around you, the male brotherhood, are going through some hells that you're never going to know because they're not going to tell you. And I'm here to tell you right now, and I'm going out on a limb to say, you are not alone. In fact, when I did this video, it's taken me 3 weeks to do this video. I've had 4 separate attempts to share what I'm sharing with you, and it was confronting. It was confronting emotionally for me to pour out my personal experiences, and also to present it in a way that is helpful to guys and to actually clarify what I did into a set of useful circumstances and useful tools that you can use going forward to overcome the challenges that you're currently facing. So step number 1 is you're not alone, guys. Step number 2 is realize this: if you don't start valuing yourself, no one else is going to. But how do you start valuing yourself? How do you go against or counter or contrary to what society has labelled you as disposable, as buffoons, as less than equal, as less than valuable? Well, you start off with a couple of key skills, and the first one that I had to learn was learning to say no and not being a dick about it, learning to put yourself first. And it goes like this. When my relationship ended, I was the primary breadwinner. I paid the bills, I put the roof over the family's head, I put the food in the fridge. And yet, in my own home, I didn't have any space for me, and I didn't have any time for me. So on the weekends, it was a case of, you got to do this, the honey-do list, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do that, you got to do that. And I was thinking, I was working 50 to 60 hours a week, and my weekends should have been my own. In fact, the only thing I asked of that relationship is on a Saturday afternoon that I get to sit down and watch the rugby and have a couple of beers and have a few mates over. And that was a no-go. That became a point of contention. And my response to you guys, and it took me too long to learn it, is say no. You know what? I worked hard, I put a roof over this head, I deserve that time for me, and essentially if you don't like it, fuck off. There is no nice way to word that, because too many guys are trying to be people pleasers all the time, and I was one of them. So the biggest thing I had to learn was that as painful as it was at the end of that relationship, it was a blessing in disguise, because I finally got to ask the next question. I was alone, I had a bunch more time to myself, and it was, what did I used to do before this relationship, before these obligations of my professional life, paying a mortgage and so on and so forth? What did I used to enjoy? And that was a very tough question. I'd forgotten what gave me excitement, gave me value, and how to take care of myself. And so it took me a few weeks, but I realized I used to love playing guitar. So that became a staple. No one gets to tell me I can't play guitar, that I can't kick back. No one gets to tell me that I can't, after a busy week's work, that I can't kick back and watch a game on TV if I want to do it. So that's number one, the biggest thing. Learn to say no, learn to value yourself. In your own home, there should never ever be an argument about a man cave, or be derision or shaming about wanting a man cave, a space that is purely yours, where you can go and chill out and not be hassled by the obligations put on you by a partner, a family, or the world. Out of 7 days in a week, if you can't do that for half a day or 1 day a week, there is something very wrong with the dynamic going on. So you get to think about, do I walk away from that, which is probably an extreme response, or more importantly, how do I learn to assertively say no and have that respected? And the key part there is respected, to be valued as men for the value that you bring to your family, to the household, to your society. So that's number one. Number two, get physically active. Get outside, get some exercise. Why? Because it's going to get the circulation through your body, which is going to help elevate your mood. Also, you're going to lose the excess fat, you're going to build some muscle, and you are going to build your confidence as a result. So whether it's getting in the gym, whether it's getting on your bike, going for a run, going for a walk, whatever it is, or even if it's just picking up an axe and chopping down some trees around your property, whatever it is, get some physical exercise in, go and do guy stuff. Doing is what makes men feel better about themselves, and also it helps elevate our hormones so that, again, it builds our confidence. So there are two things there. Learn to say no and get outside, get some physical activity. Start moving your body, lift heavy stuff, put it down, just get those hormones working, that builds your testosterone. But number two, get physically fit for your confidence. And number three, get around other men. So often in relationships, what tends to happen is a lot of the guys' friends fall by the wayside, whether that's through career, or guys from school or sporting teams fall by the wayside as we go into family life and our obligations, and our time gets sucked up and we get less time with our bros, with our brothers in arms. And so what we need to do is get around more men physically, and it's an emotional support as much as anything else, because guys are not very good about talking about a problem directly. Women are great at that. They have a very good support circle, and it's not seen as a sign of weakness for women to go to a therapist. Guys, we're not very typically good at that unless it's a crisis. And the biggest thing here is, if you're having dark thoughts about ending things, go and get professional help. In fact, in the link below, or in the description below this video, I'll put a link to where you can get crisis help if that's something that you're facing. But a lot of the time, when you get around other men and start doing stuff together, whether it's going away camping for a weekend, going fishing, playing some sport together, you don't need to verbalize a specific problem. Just having your brothers around you gives you that emotional support to work through your issues. And by doing other activities together, the subconscious works on it, you resolve a problem, and you'll probably share some experiences, and the guys around you will share experiences, and next thing, hey, problem solved, you move back into the world with a far more balanced view. So that's number 3, get around men. If you don't have a strong circle of men around you, I'm going to give you a link again in the description below to 3 channels on YouTube that you're going to find very, very helpful and useful. Number 1 is Entrepreneurs in Cars. Richard Cooper, this is a man who has designed his businesses, has also navigated relationships, both from a masculine point of view and also how to get out of a relationship equitably and fairly, also how to build businesses. Very structured thinking, very balanced view, geared specifically towards men. So check that out, link below. Number 2, you need to be able to laugh at life, laugh at the shit situations that we put ourselves in, and also navigate a way out of them. So I'm going to recommend Redonkulas. Terrence, Popp, 33 years in the military, dealing with thousands of guys with multiple problems that, you know what, when you see some of these problems and hear about some of them, you're going to get some perspective and you're going to laugh your ass off. And finally, Bilyeu, Impact Theory. He interviews people who are leaders in their areas, male, female, people who have been through multiple challenges, esteem issues, health issues, you name it, and they go through specific steps on what they did to get from where they were at their darkest, at their lowest, to where they are today, happy, fulfilled, and very successful in life. So those 3 resources are ways that you can put yourself in a different emotional, psychological environment, and where you get practical strategies to come out the other end and laugh at it along the way. Keeps things in perspective. So they're the big ones, guys. Learn to say no. Claim your space, claim your time, claim your identity as a man. Learn to be assertive and say no and have it respected. Number 3, get outside, get moving, get some self-care, look after yourself. Number 4, get around men just like you. If you can't join a physical community, get an online community where you can get that support. They're the steps that I found. I promise you right now, guys, number 1, you're not alone. Number 2, it does get a lot better. And 10 years on, my life is a lot brighter and a lot happier than it was when I went through that time where I broke my neck, lost my business, and my relationship ended. There is a way out of it. And most importantly, again, I'll reiterate, if you're at crisis point and you're having some very dark thoughts, get immediate help, and I'll put the link in the description below so that you can get the crisis care that you need. So from me to you, I love you guys. You're worth far more than society values you at. Value yourself first, reclaim your life, have an awesome, fulfilling, happy future, and I'll talk to you again very soon.